but that's kind of beside the point. Moving into the process side of things. So when we are making Rockmill White, we do a couple of things differently than we normally do. And I think normally is kind of a subjective thing because we do a lot of different things. But normally, when you are mashing in, the mash temperature range is around 65 degrees Celsius. And I'm using Celsius because that's just what I've always used in this industry. And I'm sorry for those of you who are Fahrenheit and imperial nerds. That's just not me. I'm going to talk in Celsius. So we are mashing in, instead of the normal range to maximize the enzymatic reactions to turn the starches into fermentable sugars, we are starting much lower in temperature. And that range is where we're mashing in at 45 degrees Celsius. And what that accomplishes is it does a pseudo ferulic acid rest. And what ferulic acid is a precursor to 4-VG, 4-vinyl guaiacol. And what that is, it produces a clove-like aroma, or sometimes people say it has a smoky character to it. That is the aroma we are trying to generate a little bit more of when we are mashing in at that temperature. And on the process side of things, so because we're using over 50% wheat malts in this beer, the chance that we have a hard time with lautering it is very, very high. So if you're not super familiar with the brewing process, imagine making a bowl of oatmeal and trying to separate the liquid of the oatmeal from the starchy, sticky oats of the oatmeal. It'd be pretty much impossible, and that's what wheat kind of does when we're making beer. So having that low temperature rest activates the beta glucanase enzymes that already exist in regular malt, and it chops up those sugars, the starches, a little bit differently, so that we're not left. Oh, camera! Hey there! We're not left with a sticky mess that we're trying to separate when we are separating the liquid from the mash in order to produce the wort that makes the beer. So that's the main reason, really the main reason why we mash in at that low temperature. The other benefit of it is that ferulic acid rest, we're getting those compounds that are traditional in Belgian wit beer, and also Hefeweizens and any kind of wheat beer in general can benefit sometimes, depending on what the brewer wants, benefit from those qualities and those aromas. The other thing that we are doing to aid in the fact that we might have trouble lautering is we are adding rice hulls to this. And the reason why that helps is because wheat products don't have a hull like barley does. Barley has a hull that surrounds the starches and the whole kernel of the grain itself. And when brewers mill barley, that cracks that hull, separates it from the starchiness of the rest of the grain. And if you're doing what you're supposed to, that hull stays mostly intact. So it acts as a filtering agent that allows for liquid to more easily pass through the rest of the grain, because it's a little bit harder and it's a little bit more, it doesn't melt, quote unquote, it doesn't melt with the rest of the starches, it doesn't liquefy. So it's going to help you be able to filter the liquid out more easily. So we add the rice hulls, and it's literally the same thing as a barley hull, but it comes from rice and it's used frequently for applications like this. I'm not sure what else it's used for. I'm sure there's a couple other reasons, a couple other things it's used for. But anyway, product placement. I've been doing a lot of walking and talking. Need to do a little bit more sipping. So anyway, rice hulls and low mash temperature starting point. We do have, if anyone was freaking out, we do have the ability to step mash. So we are starting at that low temperature when we are introducing the grain to the water, and then we are increasing that temperature from that 45 degrees Celsius all the way up to 77 degrees Celsius for mash out temperature. And all of that aids in the lautering process when you are able to get that hot, because also as you heat up sugar, it gets more and more liquefied, or more less and less viscous. That's the correct word. So if it's less viscous, it'll flow more smoothly, and if it flows more smoothly, it's easier for us to work with. The other kind of unique ingredients that we don't use for any other beer, just any other beer, is that orange peel and the coriander. And those are used in the whirlpool along with, I mean, some of you might be familiar with whirlpool hops, whirlpool hopping. So we treat it kind of the same way. We added those ingredients in at the very end of the boil, and that extracts a lot of the aroma without boiling off the aroma if you were to add it earlier and continue the boil. We do it right at the end. We spin up the wort in the whirlpool, and then we go knock it out a little bit later. And that's white ale. That's how we make white ale. Let us know if this is something that you enjoy. Cheers and goodbye.